I love this song, Headlines from Drake. I started to not give a fuck and stop fearing the consequence. That's where we're at, folks, with my man Russell Westbrook. He's just strung out on who he used to be and is like, get me out. I want to go out on my own terms. And here's a bit of news that I think a lot of people wouldn't even actually think was news, but it's when you're inside the matrix of it all, you start to see how these pieces influence other moves around the NBA. Lakers guard Russell Westbrook and his longtime agent, Thad Fouché, who he has hired since his time at UCLA. He's been with them his entire career as a basketball player. They are very close, like thick as thieves. They have parted ways. This happens all the time, right? You fire agents, you go somewhere else. That happens. But what doesn't happen, almost never happens, is when that goes on, a splitting of the ways goes on, and an agent decides to put out a statement right after describing and laying out your dirty laundry about how the reason that you guys have parted ways is because you lack all self-awareness. That's basically what that statement was, folks, and it mostly confirmed what we all know to be true. Russell Westbrook wants to leave yet another team 1 year after being at said team. This will be Russell Westbrook's fourth trade request in 4 years. Let me say that again. This is Russell Westbrook's fourth trade request in 4 years. Could have had a statue in Oklahoma City. Decided he wanted to go to Houston. Decided then he wanted to go somewhere else. Didn't matter where. Then Washington. Then back home to L.A., OKC, Houston, D.C., and now L.A. And if he goes to another team, he will be a buyout candidate. If he goes to Indiana or San Antonio, which is looking like where that is targeted, he will need assets to go along with him, i.e. first-round draft picks, to absorb that massive contract and then spit him out and let him be a free agent on the open market. And probably will take a minimum deal. Thad Fouché knows all these things and said all these things out in the open. Here's what he said. Now, with the possibility of a fourth trade in 4 years, the marketplace is telling the Lakers that they must add additional value with Russell in any trade scenario. You're a negative asset. And even then, such a trade may require Russell to immediately move on from the new team via buyout. My belief is that this type of transaction only serves to diminish Russell's value, and his best option is to stay with the Lakers, embrace the starting role, and support that Darvin Ham publicly offered him. Russell Westbrook is a first-ballot Naismith basketball Hall of Fame player, and will prove that again before he is retired. Thad's like, listen, fam, you're driving down the price of yourself just by going to a new place. Thad Fouché basically tired of Russell Westbrook doing this time and time and time again. And of course, this is highly unusual. You don't say that. I say that. Thad Fouché does not say that to Woj. We can surmise what it means, but for someone to lay it out and say, this is it. This is what's happening. Russell Westbrook is taking a dive, value-wise. Kind of wild. Especially considered that Thad Fouché, if you don't know, he's not a household name, even for the most rabid of NBA fans. One of the more behind-the-scenes agents in the NBA. Do you know? Nobody knows him. Nobody knows what he looks like. I had to Google him. You know who someone like Rich Paul is. You know who Bill Duffy most likely is. You know who's Kevin Durant's agent, Rich Kleiman, is, because they're front and center. And of course, everyone says, they've come out and say, well, you're supposed to be an advocate of your client no matter what. You're supposed to have his back. You're not supposed to air his dirty laundry. He fired him. You're no longer in a business relationship. And you also have new clients that may be looking like, why did Russ fire this agent 15 years into his career? Well, because the man's bringing his own price down. I can't see him do himself like this. He's under no obligation to keep quiet. But what's getting lost in the Russ drama, and this is actually the main point, is that our man, Rob Pelinka, still has no idea what he's doing. None. They made some, on the surface, bubbling, some nice moves. Lonnie Walker, Scottie Pippen Jr., etc., etc. But there are still Troy Brown. There are still Thomas Bryant. There are still 0 shooters. None. No shooters. LeBron James is the best three-point shooter on this team right now. Scottie Pippen, Shareef O'Neal, Austin Reeves, fun kids. Real fun guys. Young pieces. None of them are going to help this team with spacing or scoring from the perimeter. None. 0. The number one thing we know, we've said this a bajillion times. I say it until I'm blue in the face. There's only one formula to surround LeBron to win a championship or even to compete. Surround him with shooters. He has the ball in his hand. He is the primary ball handler on a team. That's what he does. He also likes to drive and kick. He commands a lot of attention. All you need to do is just stand there and wait for him to get you the ball. And you have to put it in the hoop with regularity. So let's look at some of these. Why doesn't if a 12-year-old player, a 12-year-old kid on TikTok knows this, why doesn't Rob Pelinka know this? It's the number one thing in my comment section on TikTok. 7, 8, 9-year-olds. LeBron has no help. He has no shooters. Get him some shooters. Rob Pelinka, alert, alert. You're a grown-ass man, and you're making millions of dollars. This is the number one thing you need to do. So let's look at the three-point percentages of these guys that he picked up. Let's look at the team. Troy Brown, 33.7% from 3. Lonnie Walker, 34% from 3. That's like the most serviceable. THT, 27% from 3. Kendrick Nunn, 36% from 3. Toscano Anderson, 36% from 3. Damian Jones, 30. Thomas Bryant, 35. Stanley Johnson, 30. Austin Reeves, 31. Scottie Pippen Jr., 34% in college. Max Christie, 38% in college. So you're telling me Max Christie is the future of the Lakers? Second round pick? Dennis Schroeder is now hinting he wants to come back to the Lakers, 33% from 3. Tell me how this helps you. Please. What is happening? If they don't get Kyrie Irving, they are so fucked. They are so incredibly fucked for so incredibly long. Why isn't Buddy Hield there? He's the perfect statue to just stand in a corner. Listen, just go over there. Stand there. Don't move. We'll get you the ball. He shoots almost 40% from 3. The latest news, per Chris Haynes, friend of show, I think, is that the big 3, Anthony Davis, Russell Westbrook, LeBron James, got on a group chat, a group call, and said they have a commitment to one another and a commitment to what? What is that? What commitment do they have? To failing? Do they have a commitment to the play-in tournament? Like a 7th, 8th, 9th seed? What? If I was LeBron James, I'd be like, no, fuck no. Get out of here. I don't have a commitment to you. And what we do know about LeBron James is that he's a liar. So he probably, and a very good one for very, we'll call it philanthropic reasons. You don't want to make people sad for the sake of making them sad. Love you, Russ. Yes, let's run it back. Trade him. Trade him. Get him the fuck out of here. I need Kyrie. If you don't give me Kyrie, I'm not running it back. I'm not signing here again if you don't figure out how to get Kyrie. Fuck them picks. Fuck them picks. The Lakers are still trash, and I don't know why no one's saying it. People are like, oh, yeah, Lonnie Walker, good signing. Yeah. This is trouble. Who are they beating? Can they beat Phoenix? No. Can they beat the Clippers? No. Can they beat Golden State? Hell no. Can they beat Memphis? No. Can they beat Denver? No. Can they beat Minnesota? No. Can they beat New Orleans? No. Their ceiling is probably the 8th seed. The ceiling, folks. And another thing no one's talking about, there are an unusual amount of clutch clients on this roster. 8! There are 8, folks. 8 clutch clients on the Los Angeles Lakers, including all of their recent signings. Lonnie Walker, Juan Toscano Anderson, Troy Brown, Scottie Pippen Jr. What is this? What is happening? Are they using it as their playground? Is Clutch Sports like, I don't care if you win? And don't you think LeBron James would suss this out? Like, yo, you're signing a lot of clutch clients and we're not any closer to winning. What is happening? With Russ, without Russ, I'm not sure this team can compete with anyone in the West besides maybe the Thunder and the Rockets. The Lakers are a play-in team at best, this team outside of that one championship inside the bubble that they didn't even get to celebrate with their fans has been a sinking ship. Ever since Clutch put their little fangs in and their little claws into this organization and would not let go. The amount of picks that they gave up for AD, the amount of pieces they had to send off for Russell Westbrook, the rotating cast of characters and non-shooters around him, the dusty AARP card carrying guys like Carmelo Anthony and Trevor Ariza and Avery Bradley and Kent Bazemore, who's not old, but he's just not very good. And the Lakers have no one to blame but themselves. Can someone cue that Game of Thrones where it's Cersei and they shave her head and she's walking through naked? Like, someone needs to do that to Jeannie Buss and to Rob Pelinka. Shame, shame, shame. This is the fucking Lakers we're talking about. This is not OKC. Can they get their shit together? I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on. All that to say, they're going to be bad. Don't bet on them.